All right, folks, we are back with week 2 of the boundaries module. This is class number 3 of week 2. And this is going to be a quick one because I just want to introduce a concept called emergency empathy. Emergency empathy. If you get to red light, you're in an empathy emergency. Last video, we introduced this idea that we get to red light because we haven't received empathy that we want or need from another, and we are unable to provide that for ourselves. The training is if you do that SCSC kata and you train in how to de-trigger yourself by giving yourself empathy, you actually can begin, and some of you have already experienced this, you can begin to give yourself emergency empathy on the spot. This is what we start to develop. We develop this little pause that when we get triggered, instead of shutting down or acting out, we have a third option, which is pause and consider what's going on. Okay, I'm feeling something that's very intense. And we begin to frame that as not, oh no, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? When we feel those sensations, we say, I'm in need of empathy really, really badly. Empathy is missing from this situation. If I had that, I would have this buffer zone. I would have this space. I would have this cushion, but I don't have that. And so everything is a little bit harder than it ought to be. If you have that instinct, you will be able to pull off some miraculous stuff, which is that in the moment, someone will say something that triggers you, and you'll be able to go, oh, hold on. Just 1 second, processing. And in your mind, you'll go, wow, when they said that, I was telling myself that this. And when I told myself that, I feel this because I need this. I get it. And you'll come back, boom, and you're right back in that conversation, able to continue on. These are some of the masters of interpersonal communication, which I personally, that's what I want to train for, is to be able, I'm not able to do it all the time on the spot. I have to call some red lights, or I have to screw up and then come back and go, I was in red light. Now that I've empathized with myself for 3 days, I can let you know what was going on. That's still pretty good. If that's all you have, man, those are some great tools. But in the moment, if you can give yourself emergency empathy, you have this miraculous tool that we're starting to get to this place where it's not about, these are just training wheels. Like, oh, stop the conversation, get out of there. You can start to ascend to some of these heights of mastery where you're right in there, and without even having to pause, you can go like, oh, that really hurt because of this, and it comes up, you're with it, and you let that move through you instead of trying to push it away or segment or whatever, and you can actually stay a whole being with your optimal brain online without becoming amygdala hijacked. The other thing this idea brings about is that when another person is acting out in a conversation, right? So they look like they've got the hungry, angry, tired, whatever. They're giving you these signs, body language, raising their voice, etc. We want to train our minds to think, oh, they need emergency empathy, right? So basic level training is, oh crap, we're in red light. I'm gonna get out of here, right? No problem with that. That's perfect, especially in intimate relationships, right? No, this is not going to help us. Let's pause right there. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Oh, we're hungry. Let's talk about it after dinner, etc. As we advance, when the person starts to raise their voice, we should go like, oh, wow, I've been arguing my case, and this means that they need emergency empathy. They're triggered because, and I've tried this out, as crazy as it sounds. When I just shift, I call it the St. Francis method, because I just get rid of my needs for a minute and I just try to be kind of like, okay, it's all about you. And I try to listen more deeply, just like we said before. I put on the giraffe ears and I go, okay, they need emergency empathy. And then, this and this and this. Oh, are you saying this and this and this? And you can watch in one sentence, the tone goes down. Yeah, well, this and this and this and this. I see the way you're seeing it right now is this and this and this. Yeah, and I just this and you can actually apply emergency empathy in the moment and pull one another out of red light right there in the moment. Really cool. And now we're talking about authenticity. We normally think, oh, authenticity is like, I'm just going to share my raw feelings. But those aren't actually the whole of you, because sometimes when we calm back down, we weren't actually expressing what we really want, or we weren't expressing ourselves in ways that are going to create what we really want. So when we can get to the point where you actually are honest with your feelings and needs with yourself, you've empathized, that's more authentic than ever. And then in the other person, if we can actually feel in and call in what they're really feeling and needing, you can go right to the heart of the matter, even in the midst of a red light. It's a little bit advanced, but have this code word emergency empathy in your mind. Code word emergency empathy. The last thing I want to let you chew on a little bit in the vein of emergency empathy is that there are going to be times when you cannot provide emergency empathy for yourself, and you cannot provide that for the other person. This is where we recruit help. This is where we recruit help. So if you try the previous method, you do the SCSC kata on paper, and you're like, I just still blah, 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 blah. Well, usually it's because you don't have enough of the presence from the outside to hold and hear the you that is in distress, right? It's kind of a tall order. We can do it. We're built for this as humans, but it doesn't always work. If we're significantly distressed, we often need someone else to hold the pole of unconditional compassionate regard. Yes, I hear that was hard for you. Yes, you needed this. Of course you needed that. That's a universal human need. And in that empathy, that's where we heal. But we can't always do that for ourselves. And here's the thing. I believe another one of these, I'll have to put this on my TikTok channel or something, another one of these could solve like a high percentage of the relationship problems in the world, is that we're coming into these arguments, these red light situations, trying to get the empathy we need from our partner. And often our partner has no capacity to give it to us. They don't have the skills, or they are so distressed too. Like, to be able to do that St. Francis method I mentioned, you have to be in a pretty regulated state, right? You have to be able to, oh, are you needing this? If you're in full red light, it's really hard to get out of that. So emergency empathy, going away and doing the kata, etc. But there are definitely times when you work with, this is your therapist, this is your empathy buddy, that's your budget therapist, your empathy buddy, and of course your coach or your facilitator for the conversation, like in an intimacy or in a friendship. And so this is getting into kind of the art of coaching. Often what this is going to be is that two friends who are just, they can't work it out. You sit them down and your job is just to moderate, this and this and this. And then you go, oh, it sounds like you were needing this. Yeah. Okay. Well, what were you needing? And you'll see this over and over. It's like a miracle. Once people are just heard in their needs, which we don't express, we're not trained to speak this way. So you have to coax them into sharing their feelings and needs. You can empathize with someone's story all day and it still doesn't get to the heart of it. You can agree with their strategies and still have them be resentful. It's only when we are finally heard in these universal human feelings and needs that the heart begins to unpack from that armor and heal. So the whole job of recruiting a coach is, well, I don't have a dog in this race. I can easily see your universal human needs. I can easily see your universal human needs. And we're able to import that emergency empathy from outside. So this is your code word, emergency empathy. And we went all the way from, so that's like the most highly regulated. We've trained this. We know how to emergency empathize ourselves. Oh, I'm triggered. That means I need empathy. Presence. We give it to ourselves. We can actually pull another person out of red light. And then knowing that that's possible, well, that's what we're asking our therapist, our empathy buddy, to do for us. And so to recognize, to be honest, that we humans are co-regulatory species. We're not going to be able to do this all on our own all the time. We're going to need to invoke an empathy specialist from the outside sometimes to give us that extra boost of presence, that extra boost of unconditional compassion that it takes to actually help us come back into presence with ourselves. So there we go. Emergency empathy. This is all about how to navigate the red lights, the yellow lights, how to navigate some of these tricky, stressful moments. And we're still in the basics. This is just our second module, but my contention is what I've seen in my own relationship, what I've seen countless times, and then what I can retroactively see from having done it wrong for a number of decades in my life, is that if we just do these basics, if we drill these basics, it wipes out a lot of the need for more advanced, complex techniques. So get on it, start working on that SCSC kata in yourself on paper. About if you have a difficult situation right now, this is your assignment, is to find some of those and start working those out on paper. And you'll find that you start to develop some really magical, beautiful skills. All right, talk to you next time.